Are you really living in the present, or just going through the motions on autopilot? Your mind races non-stop, from the past to the future, and you don't even notice. But why is it so hard to live in the now? What's holding you back isn't what you think. And the solution? It's closer than you realize. In this video, you'll discover what no one ever told you about being present and how it can change everything in your life. If it feels like peace is always just out of reach, maybe you've just been looking in the wrong direction. Living in the present is more than just an idea. It's the first step toward real transformation. Have you ever noticed that when you're thinking, you're actually listening? Yeah, listening to a voice that often isn't even yours. A voice that repeats fears, doubts, judgments. A constant soundtrack playing in your head without you even realizing it. But what if I told you there's a way to silence that voice? To hear what really matters and completely transform your life experience? The truth is, most of us are trapped in this inner dialogue. We're so busy thinking about what we should have done yesterday or what might go wrong tomorrow that we forget to notice the only moment that truly exists, right now. But why is it so hard to live in the present? What makes our mind keep dragging us away from the now? Is it just the fast pace of modern life? Or is there something deeper behind it? In this video, we're going to dive into exactly that. We'll explore how the Hermetic laws, universal principles that govern our reality, can help us live consciously in the present, and more than that, evolve spiritually through this practice. Living in the present isn't just some mindfulness technique or passing trend. It's a path to awaken the true power that exists within you. And the best part? It's simpler than you think. But before we get into how, I want you to think about this. Who's that talking inside your head right now? And if that voice isn't really you, then who are you? We're surrounded by constant stimuli. Notifications popping up on our phone screens. Endless to-do lists. Pressure from the outside world and from ourselves. Modern life doesn't give us a break. And when we finally get a moment of silence, our mind finds a way to fill it with worries. But is that all? Is the problem just the chaos of daily life? Or is there something deeper behind this struggle to stay present? The truth is, our minds have been trained not to live in the present. Since we were kids, we've learned to look back, revisiting mistakes and regrets, or to project into the future, trying to predict and control things that haven't even happened yet. It's like we're always in a state of rumination, reliving what's already gone or anticipating what might come. And this creates a cycle of anxiety, stress, and disconnection. But here's a detail most people don't notice. This struggle isn't some glitch in the universe. On the contrary, it's part of a much bigger system, governed by laws that operate quietly behind the scenes of our reality. And that's where Hermeticism comes in. The Hermetic laws explain why our minds work this way, and, even more importantly, how we can break that cycle. They show us that the universe follows principles that, when understood, can transform the way we think, feel, and act. But before we dive into how these laws can help us, we need to recognize the challenges we face in our daily lives. Because to change something, we first have to see how that something is affecting us. Now, let's find out what those challenges are and how they're directly connected to the laws that govern the universe. Now that we understand the challenges of living in the present, it's time to reveal what's behind this struggle. Because here's the thing, the universe isn't random chaos. It's governed by laws. Laws that, even though invisible, shape every aspect of our existence. And when we start to understand these laws, something magical happens. Our relationship with life changes completely. Hermeticism introduces us to 7 universal principles, and 3 of them are key to understanding why our minds keep running from the present, and how we can bring them back. The first is the principle of mentalism. It says, the all is mind, the universe is mental. This means everything that exists started as a thought. The entire universe is a manifestation of the mind. But here's the secret. If reality is shaped by the mind, then the chaos we feel is also a mental creation. The question is, are you in control of your mind, or is it controlling you? Next, we have the principle of rhythm. Everything flows, in and out. Everything has its tides. Life moves in cycles, just like the waves of the ocean. When we try to fight against these cycles, we feel drained. It's like paddling against the current. The past, the future, the present, they're all part of this natural flow. Being present means learning to move with life's rhythm without resistance. And then comes the principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its opposite. Light and shadow, joy and sadness, past and future. The present is the balance point between these extremes. When we're stuck in memories or anxieties, we're caught on one of the poles. But the real power lies in finding balance, in meeting in the middle, in the now. These principles aren't just distant philosophical ideas. They're practical keys that can transform how you live every day. The question is, how do you apply them in your daily life? How do you turn this knowledge into a real practice that helps you live in the present? Now that you know the laws that shape our reality, it's time to put them into practice. Because knowledge without action is like having a map, but never leaving your spot. The true power of Hermeticism lies in how we apply these principles in our daily lives, turning each moment into an opportunity for growth and connection. Let's start with the principle of mentalism. If the all is mind, then mastering your mind is the first step to living in the present. But how do you do that in the middle of everyday chaos? The answer lies in the practice of meditation. And I'm not talking about anything complicated or time-consuming. Start with 5 minutes, sit quietly, close your eyes, and simply observe your thoughts. Don't try to control them, don't judge them. Imagine they're like clouds in the sky just passing by. You are not your thoughts, you're the observer. And in that space of observation, you'll find the now. Now let's move on to the principle of rhythm. Remember, everything flows, in and out. The key here is respecting life's cycles. Have you noticed how hard it is for us to accept moments of pause? We think we always need to be productive, always busy. But life doesn't work that way. There's a time to act and a time to rest. A simple exercise is to recognize these moments in your day. When you feel like you're pushing too hard, stop, breathe. Allow yourself to flow with the natural rhythm of things. That's not laziness, that's wisdom. Finally, the principle of polarity. Everything has its opposite. When you feel an intense emotion, anxiety, anger, sadness, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what's the opposite of this emotion? If you're anxious, the opposite is calm. If you're sad, the opposite is joy. Now, take a deep breath and bring your awareness to that other pole. It's not about denying what you feel, but about finding balance between the extremes. The present is that point of balance. These practices are simple, but powerful. And the most interesting part is, the more you bring them into your routine, the more natural it becomes to live in the now, not as a chore, but as a conscious choice. And you might be wondering, but what happens when we start living this way? What are the real benefits of being present here and now? If these practices are making sense to you so far, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps YouTube recognize that this content is valuable and can reach more people who also need to discover how to live in the present consciously. And if you're enjoying this journey, subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss the upcoming videos on spirituality, Hermeticism, and personal transformation. Now, let's move on to the next steps and uncover the deep benefits of living in the present. When you start living in the present, something extraordinary happens. The world, which once felt chaotic and out of control, starts to make sense. And it's not because the world changed, but because you changed the way you connect with it. Being present isn't just a spiritual practice. It's a complete transformation in how you experience life. The first benefit you'll notice is mental clarity. Remember the principle of mentalism? The all is mind. When you learn to quiet the constant noise of your thoughts, you begin to hear something much deeper, the voice of your intuition. Decisions that once felt confusing now become clear. Problems that seemed huge start to shrink. You realize that more often than not, what was stressing you out wasn't the problem itself, but the way your mind was interpreting it. Another benefit is emotional balance. According to the principle of polarity, everything has its opposite. When you're present, you're no longer at the mercy of your emotions. You still feel them, of course, but you don't drown in them. It's like being in the middle of a storm and finding a calm space within yourself. Anxiety fades, stress melts away, and you discover a new way to handle life's challenges, with serenity. And maybe the most powerful benefit of all is the conscious manifestation of reality. Through the principle of cause and effect, every cause has its effect. When you're present, Your actions and intentions align. You're no longer reacting automatically. You're acting with purpose. And that changes everything. Opportunities start to show up, not because the universe suddenly became generous, but because you're finally in sync with it. You become a co-creator of your reality. And the beautiful thing about all of this? These benefits aren't distant or out of reach. They begin the moment you choose to be here, now. Every conscious breath, every observed thought, every moment lived with presence is a step toward a fuller, more meaningful life. But in the end, what happens when you bring these practices into your daily life? The answer is simple. Transformation is inevitable. Thinking is, in fact, a form of listening. But the big question is, what are you listening to? And even more importantly, is that voice really yours? Or is it just the echo of expectations, fears, and pressures the world has placed on you? Now that you know the secret, everything changes. You don't have to be a passenger in your own life anymore, drifting with the winds of the past and the uncertainties of the future. You can choose to be present. You can choose to be the calm observer in the middle of the chaos. Because the present is the only place where true transformation happens. And here's my invitation to you. Try one of the practices we shared today. Take 5 minutes to observe your thoughts. Respect the natural rhythm of your day. Find emotional balance between the extremes. Do this for yourself, and watch how your perception of life starts to shift. And when that change happens, because it will happen, share your experience in the comments. I want to hear how it went for you. Remember, the past is a memory, the future is a projection, but the now is where the magic happens. If this video helped you see the power of living in the present, hit that like button. That way, I know this content resonated with you. Now tell me, what was your biggest insight today? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear how this topic is impacting your journey. And if you want to keep exploring Hermeticism and other spiritual practices to transform your daily life, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any new content. And of course, don't stop here. In the next video, linked in the description and the card above, you'll dive even deeper into this journey of growth. Your transformation is just beginning. See you there.